If you think turning on a female friend takes fancy lines or risky moves, you're already doing it wrong. The truth is, the real spark starts why before you ever touch her. And most men miss it completely. Attraction doesn't begin with words, actions, or techniques. It begins with the energy you carry the moment you walk into a room. A woman feels you before she understands you. She senses your presence before she processes your intentions. And this is where most men get it wrong. They try too hard. They try to act charming, try to impress, try to perform, try to show confidence instead of being confident. But real attraction, the kind that can shift the energy with a female friend in moments, comes from the quiet, grounded power of a man who is calm in himself. When your energy settles, hers becomes aware of it. Women feel emotional vibrations faster than men realize. They read your tone, your eyes, your posture, your breathing. They pick up on your comfort or anxiety instantly. So when your presence shifts from casual to centered, something changes inside her without you saying a single word. It's not manipulation, it's resonance. The male energy that draws a woman in is slow, steady, and grounded, not rushed, not needy, not proving anything. When you're around her with that calm presence, she can feel your confidence without you announcing it. You're not chasing her attention. You're simply rooted in yourself. This creates a natural polarity, a masculine-feminine dynamic that feels organic, familiar, and safe to her. She becomes more aware of you as a man, not just a friend she jokes with. It's subtle, it's internal, and it happens fast. When your energy shifts, your body language shifts too. You speak slower, you listen more deeply. You hold eye contact without forcing it. Your movements are intentional rather than reactive. Women find this deeply attractive because it communicates that you are emotionally stable and internally strong. It tells her that you aren't relying on her reaction to feel good about yourself. That independence, that lack of desperation, creates space for her feminine energy to rise. She becomes more expressive, more open, more attentive without even realizing she's mirroring your calmness. This kind of presence also changes how she perceives the moment with you. Suddenly, the conversation feels different. The silence feels warmer. The space between you holds more tension. She becomes more aware of your voice, your choice of words, the rhythm of the interaction. Your grounded energy invites her to match it. And this creates a spark that can shift the entire dynamic in minutes. Not because you're trying to turn her on, but because you're embodying a form of masculine security that naturally attracts feminine energy. Women are not drawn to loud dominance or aggressive confidence. They are drawn to the man who stands in himself quietly, who doesn't need to seek validation, who radiates strength without forcing attention. This is why attraction begins with energy. When your internal state is calm, confident, and present, she feels it instantly. It pulls her in gently, safely, and powerfully. She becomes curious. She becomes attentive. She becomes emotionally aware of you in a new way. And that shift, that invisible psychological change, is what opens the door to deeper chemistry every single time. Second is understanding that a woman becomes far more open to intimacy when she feels emotionally safe in your presence. Emotional safety is not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It is about creating a moment where her nervous system relaxes, her guard drops, and her mind stops scanning for red flags. Most men think attraction is about physical charm, looks, or perfect lines, but true intimacy begins long before touch ever happens. It starts when she feels she can be herself without judgment. When a woman senses that she is being seen, heard, and accepted, her entire energy shifts. Her body language softens, her tone becomes warmer, and her subconscious begins to associate you with comfort instead of caution. Emotional safety happens when your presence feels predictable, stable, and non-threatening. She needs to know you won't use her vulnerability against her. She needs to feel you are not trying to rush her, pressure her, or manipulate her. She wants to sense that you're genuinely connected to the moment instead of chasing an outcome. When you create this kind of environment, you activate something powerful in her: trust. And trust is the foundation of desire, especially in a friendship dynamic where she already has a pre-existing image of you. If you want her to feel turned on or drawn to you, she must first feel that she can let down her guard without regret. A woman's intimacy switches on from her mind downward, not the other way around. When she mentally relaxes, emotional openness follows. When emotional openness follows, physical intimacy becomes natural instead of forced. Many men misunderstand emotional safety as being overly nice or overly available. But that actually kills attraction. Emotional safety is not about being soft. It's about being steady. It means you listen without trying to fix her. You respond without overreacting. And you stay present even when the moment becomes charged. It means you're calm, grounded, and confident in your energy. You don't need validation from her, and you don't push for more than she's ready to give. This creates a silent, magnetic tension that women are naturally drawn to. She feels protected, not controlled. She feels desired, not pressured. She feels comfortable yet excited at the same time. When she feels emotionally safe, she naturally moves closer. She starts opening up about things she doesn't tell others. She laughs more, touches you more, and lets you into her personal space. Her voice becomes softer, her eyes linger longer, and she becomes more physically responsive to your presence. These are biological signals that her comfort has turned into attraction, and her attraction has opened the door to intimacy. When you understand emotional safety deeply, you stop trying to force connection and instead allow it to flow. Women crave this kind of energy because it is rare. Most men rush, push, or prove themselves too hard. The man who can create emotional safety stands out effortlessly because he gives her what she secretly longs for but rarely receives, a moment where she can exhale and surrender to the connection without fear. Third is recognizing that subtle tension and calibrated mystery are essential for awakening desire in a woman who already sees you as a friend. Most men who get stuck in the friend zone make the same mistake. They eliminate all mystery. They show every emotion too fast, reveal every thought immediately, and make themselves fully predictable. Predictability feels safe, but it does not create attraction. What draws a woman in is the feeling that there is more to you than she currently sees, that your presence holds layers she has not yet explored. This kind of subtle mystery does not mean you act distant or cold. It means you stop making yourself emotionally transparent at every moment. You stop over-explaining your intentions. You stop being available on demand. You stop trying to prove your worth through effort. Instead, you create moments where she has to lean in, wonder a little, and feel the quiet thrill of discovering something new about you. Mystery is powerful because it invites her to invest mentally. When a woman starts thinking about you outside of your conversations, desire begins to grow. When she feels curious about your world, she becomes emotionally engaged. When she senses a masculine presence that is confident and centered without chasing validation, she experiences a shift inside her that turns normal interactions into charged moments. This is especially important with a female friend because she has built a mental image of you based on history, routine, and predictability. To spark attraction, you must gently disrupt that pattern in a way that feels authentic and grounded. You do this not by pretending to be someone else, but by revealing parts of yourself that she has not experienced before. Your confidence, your silence, your ambition, your boundaries, your deeper emotional intelligence. These elements add depth to your character, and depth creates desire. Subtle tension arises when she feels both comfortable with you and slightly challenged by you. It's the energy of being warm but not clingy, open but not oversharing, present but not needy. It's the shift from following her lead to allowing her to feel your masculine direction. When you listen to her, you do it intentionally. When you make eye contact, you hold it a second longer. When you speak, you slow down, allowing your words to carry weight. When you pause, you let the moment breathe. These small changes create a feeling she can't quite name, a feeling that pulls her inward instead of pushing her away. When you master subtle tension, she starts noticing you differently. She becomes more attentive to your presence. She starts initiating conversations more often. She overthinks your silence. She becomes more physically responsive, more playful, and more emotionally invested. She may even begin to question whether she ever truly understood you in the first place. This is the beginning of attraction, when her mind opens the door before her body does. Mystery and tension work together to shift her perception, transforming you from just a friend into a man she feels drawn to on a deeper, more instinctive level. When you learn to create this balance with intention and grounded masculinity, your presence becomes magnetic and intimacy becomes something she leans into naturally, not something you have to chase. Fourth is understanding how to use emotional contrast to shift a female friend's perception of you from familiar to irresistible. Most men believe that attraction is built only through positivity validation or being consistently nice, but desire is not born from flat emotional experience. Desire grows when a woman feels a dynamic emotional journey around you, when she experiences your presence as stimulating, unpredictable in the best way, and rich with contrasts that awaken her senses. Emotional contrast means you are not stuck in one mode. You are not always the quiet listener, not always the funny guy, not always the supportive friend. You express different facets of your masculinity at different moments, allowing her to feel something new each time she interacts with you. This shift creates a psychological spark because her brain no longer associates you with monotony. It begins to associate you with emotional richness, and richness is addictive. Women respond powerfully to contrast because it activates curiosity, which activates desire. When you can be warm and kind but also assertive in your boundaries, she notices. When you can be playful and light but also grounded and serious when the moment calls for it, she pays attention. When you can laugh with her but also hold quiet intensity in your gaze, She feels something she can't dismiss. You're no longer the predictable friend she has categorized. You're a man she is re-evaluating. Emotional contrast creates a magnetism that cannot be faked because it comes from authenticity. It comes from being emotionally intelligent enough to adapt to the moment without losing who you are. It communicates that you have depth, and depth is what separates a friend from a potential partner. When a woman experiences emotional range around you, she becomes more attuned to your subtle cues. She starts noticing the way you speak, the way you move, the way you react. She becomes more sensitive to your energy because you're no longer easy to decode. You don't have to create drama or tension to achieve this. All you need is presence. When you're listening deeply one moment and challenging her lightly the next, you introduce a richness that activates her feminine energy. Feminine energy is responsive by nature, and it thrives when it is met with masculine fluidity, not rigidity. Men who lack emotional contrast feel flat, unmemorable, and safe but not compelling. Men who embody emotional contrast feel alive, unpredictable in a grounded way, and impossible to ignore. Emotional contrast also builds polarity, the force that fuels attraction. Without polarity, you're just another person in her life. With polarity, you become a man she experiences with intensity. This contrast allows her to see the difference between how you treat the world and how you treat her. It lets her feel special without you having to chase or overextend. It shows her your strength without aggression, your softness without weakness, your confidence without arrogance, and your vulnerability without neediness. When you learn to master this emotional balance, she begins to see you not as the friend she's used to, but as the man who can awaken feelings she didn't realize she was capable of feeling for you. And that shift becomes the beginning of real desire she can no longer ignore. Fifth is understanding how to create subtle sexual polarity without crossing boundaries or making the interaction uncomfortable. Many men fail in this area because they either suppress all masculine energy to avoid seeming inappropriate, or they try to force sexual tension in a way that feels unnatural. But true attraction, the kind that shifts a woman's perception of you from a platonic friend to a man she feels drawn to, comes from an unspoken polarity that develops slowly and naturally. This polarity is not created through explicit comments or physical advances. It comes from your presence, your energy, and your ability to carry yourself with a quiet confidence that signals you are a man who knows his value. When a woman senses that, she feels something she cannot rationalize. It's not what you say, but how she feels in your presence that begins to pull her toward you. Sexual polarity works best when it's subtle because subtlety leaves room for her imagination. When you are too direct, you eliminate mystery. When you are too passive, you eliminate desire. Polarity lives in the balance between the two, and mastering that balance is what will make a woman feel something shift inside her. This polarity is expressed through eye contact that lingers just a moment longer than usual, not enough to be intrusive, but enough to leave an imprint. It's in the tone of your voice when you speak with a calm certainty that shows you are grounded. It's in the way you take up space without trying to dominate the room. It's in the small pauses you allow before responding, showing that you think before you speak and that you're not rushing to please anyone. This energy creates the kind of tension that feels exciting, safe, and undeniably magnetic. When you embody this level of confidence, a woman becomes more aware of your presence. She starts to notice the difference between how her body reacts around you and how it reacts around others. She feels more alive, more alert, more curious. She may not consciously understand why, but she feels the shift. That shift is sexual polarity. And when done with integrity and respect, it is one of the most powerful forces in human attraction. Sexual polarity also requires boundaries because boundaries make your presence more intentional. When you don't overgive, over-explain, or seek validation, you create space for her to lean in. That space is where her desire has room to grow. If you constantly try to remove that space by chasing, insisting, or over-communicating, you accidentally suffocate the very energy you're trying to build. Subtle polarity is not about manipulation. It's about authenticity. It's about showing the parts of you that are masculine, grounded, and emotionally controlled without pretending to be someone you're not. Women respond deeply to emotional safety paired with masculine presence. When she feels both, walls come down naturally. Her guard softens without you asking. She starts opening up more, sharing more, laughing differently, lingering a little longer. These are signals that her energy is shifting toward attraction. When you create subtle sexual polarity from a place of genuine respect, you become the man who awakens something inside her she didn't realize she was longing for. And once awakened, that feeling becomes impossible for her to ignore. In the end, everything you've learned in this message leads to one truth many men never realize until it's too late. Attraction isn't created through pressure, performance, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's created through presence, intention, and emotional depth. When you understand how women actually respond to energy, confidence, and subtle polarity, you stop trying to force a moment and start creating an environment where the moment happens naturally. You become the man who doesn't chase validation, but inspires connection. The man who doesn't push boundaries but makes her want to cross them on her own. The man who doesn't rely on tricks but relies on the power of who he is. And when you approach women with that grounded, authentic energy, even a friend who once saw you as just a friend can begin to look at you differently. Her eyes linger a little longer. Her body moves a little closer. Her tone softens in a way she doesn't even notice. These changes aren't accidents. They're responses to the shift you've created within yourself. Because when a man grows into the strongest version of himself, the world responds. Women respond, and the right woman feels it instantly, even if she can't explain why. So take these insights and use them with intention, respect, and integrity. You're not here to manipulate anyone. You're here to step into a presence that makes real connection possible. If you can do that, you won't just attract women. You'll attract the right experiences, the right energy, and the right relationships that are aligned with who you're becoming. Good luck on your journey. And remember, when you learn how to show up as the strongest version of yourself, you'll never have to chase love. It will find its way to you naturally. Thank you for watching. Thank you for growing. And thank you for choosing to level up your understanding of intimacy and connection. Your evolution starts now.